I'm here to talk to you about critical decision making. I'm an airline pilot. I'm a captain on the Airbus A320 fleet. I fly around Europe. I got my commands in December last year. I passed my command check. I used to fly the 787, the Dreamliner, around the world prior to that. So I'm new to sitting in the left-hand seat as a captain. So I fly for a major UK airline. Because it's been recorded, I can't tell you which one, but I'm sure you can probably work out who has Airbuses and 787s as a UK airline anyway. You can reach out to me, my Twitter. I haven't put my Mastodon on there because I couldn't work out what it was this morning when I was editing the slides, but and my email address as well. If you've got any questions and you don't want to ask them here, then feel free to reach out to me and ask there. Me then, Microsoft MVP. You see that up there, and that confuses a lot of people because I'm here talking to you about aviation and planes. I'm an airline pilot. Before I was an airline pilot, I worked in the car industry. I used to do robot programming, PLC programming, and I've continued the software development role, which was really handy a couple of years ago when they stopped aviation. That was quite handy to have something to fall back on. I work mainly in the mobile and IoT, so Xamarin, Maui, and IoT spaces as a freelance dev. And when I'm kind of not doing that and flying planes, it seems to be the other way around these days. Love coding, love electronics, love tinkering and playing with things. If you look me up on YouTube, you'll see I've built prosthetic hands for children with like robotics and stuff, bringing in my robotics from a previous life as well. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about how we as airline pilots around the world get you safely from A to B. Maybe you've flown here to NDC London. How we do that when things go a little bit wrong. I'm going to show you some incidents and that later on in the slide deck. First thing though is downstairs, one floor from here, so on the 5th floor, we've got the Microsoft standards, Microsoft MVP. They've given me this slide stick in here. So pop down there, speak to the team down there. If you've got any Microsoft or GitHub queries, and if you want to join get some swag, you can join the challenge and complete a couple of online courses on Microsoft Learn, and then you get to get some swag sent out to you by Adam, who's downstairs. So I'll put that up at the end as well. First thing though, I said that I'm going to show you some incidents that have happened on aircraft. Now I give this talk to all different audiences, not just software developers. I've given it to nurses, doctors. I've given it to teams in business that work in big pharmaceutical companies, that sort of thing. And every now and again, I get to an incident and then I see someone kind of really upset and dash out the room. So I'll warn you now, there is going to be some videos of aircraft in distress. So if you do have a fear of flying, you can do no better than go to Flying with Confidence and curing that fear, and then hopefully see you on board an aircraft soon. And if you do complete the course, they give you a massive discount on your ticket and your booking. So it's always worth doing that. I know someone who did that course and got a 10% discount on a flight for their family going to Australia, which actually saved them more than what the cost of the course was. But if you do have a fear, doors at the back, they're that way. That's my cabin crew training done for the day. But yeah, we're going to show some incidents of aircraft in distress. This is my office. It was a picture of a 787 previously, but I changed it to an Airbus this morning because I realised it was old and out of date. So that's my office. I get to sit in the left-hand seat. I get to play with a little joystick with the wrong hands. It always feels a bit weird, even now. So the Airbus A320 Neo, which is new engine option, that's what it stands for. List price of $110 million. That's before we put the seats on and put the IFE that you want to sit and watch, or you want a toilet, or you want the galley with the ovens to cook your breakfast and your dinner. So it's quite an expensive company car they give me to whiz around Europe with, and fly in the fog, in the rain, in the winds, deal with all the emergencies that we deal with. If you're out the office window though, left-hand seat is something I won't read the text, you can read it better than I can say it. It's St Elmo's fire. So when we fly near a thunderstorm, the air is all charged electrically, which is why it's a thunderstorm, you get lightning. But when you get too close to it, metal parts of the aircraft around the windows, all the rivets and bolts and nuts and the wiper blades, they get charged and ionized particles, and you get this kind of pretty lightning that goes across the windscreen. It looks really, really pretty, and you quite often get your camera out to take a picture. And then you realise you're about to be struck by lightning, because that typically is a prelude to being struck by lightning. You see it and it's like, oh, here we go. I've honestly lost count the number of times I've been struck by lightning, not because I'm dangerous and I fly close to storms, but it just comes bolt out of the blue, literally, You don't know when it's going to hit you. I've flown climbing out of Toronto a few years back. We was climbing out, and there was literally a cloud in the sky. And air traffic control wanted us to go that way. And we gave it a wide berth, said, actually, can you just steer to the right of it? Yeah, no problem. So we steered to the right of it. And we got struck by lightning by a cloud. It's a starry night, and there's one cloud in the sky, but it had enough charge in it to actually strike us. So completely out of the blue, didn't expect it. The picture on the right, though, that's taken the head-up display, the HUD, the 787, flying back from the US, chasing the aircraft. So you can see the two contrails above us. We've been chasing them all night long. The 78 is quite a quick aircraft, one of the fastest in the sky. So we caught them up crossing the Atlantic the whole way back. We took an early descent, so we got below them. And obviously, as you go down and descend, you've got gravity helping you, so you go a bit quicker, which meant we caught them up a little bit more. And now we're below them, so they can't descend because we blocked that airspace, because you block a 5-mile radius of the aircraft. So we landed Heathrow before they do. Not that it's a race, but first the car park wins. Is the way I see it anyway. So that's if you're out the office window. So it's a bit different sitting in an office or sitting in a home office where you've got your laptop balanced on books to give you that kind of team's perspective, and the dog's running around and the kids are screaming, that sort of thing. This is it's rather nice. My clicker's not clicking. Oh no. It's all right, because in aviation we love backups. We've got a backup, so we'll go with a backup. Oh, no, it's... Yeah. That was it. How did you enjoy that? See, now you've seen all the slides, and you're like, we know what's coming. No, it's really not happy, is it? So, let's try that again. Did I really click it that many times? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the battery out of that. Let's see if that solves it. Right. Next one is obviously to close PowerPoint and try again. It's trying to do all sorts. That's a lovely aircraft. Little sling aircraft. I'm hoping one day I'll be able to get one. No, wrong one. You just want to speak money. I'll give you something to do while you're waiting for me to bring up the slides again, is towards the end we're going to do an exercise where you get to join in little teams. So if you just look around you and think, who do you want to be in your team? Because obviously it's all about winning. But what we're going to do, I'm going to teach you something that we use in aviation, and then you're going to get to practice it a little bit later. Hopefully this... Yeah, there we go. Right, I'll tell you what, we'll not use the pen, because obviously it's gotten a bit upset. Got that far, didn't we? It's really not happy. I think we'll just go with a space bar. So we're on to our backup of our backup of our backup now. In aviation, we like to practice things, and we like to make sure that we know what we're doing. Hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing breaks on the plane and nothing goes wrong. Obviously, it doesn't happen. But we practice every 6 months. We go into a simulator. About 5 to 10 million, depending on the age of the aircraft. That's the 787 sim. Cost just shy of 10 million to buy that. And we go in there every 6 months. We practice for 2 days. And the training team will throw us all sorts of failures, all sorts of problems. Typically, it's based on incidents and accidents that have happened over the last few years. So my last sim check, which was admittedly on the A320, we were practicing learning still from the Air France 447. The one that went down over Brazil into the sea a few years back. Was it 6 or 7 years ago now, I think it was. There's still learnings coming from flight data recorders of that incident and accident. So we practice that in the sim. So all the upset recovery training, what to do if we do get the aircraft into a deep stall, how to recover that. We should never ever get there, but if we did, how to recover the aircraft. We also have a day practicing security emergency procedures, SEP, with our cabin crew colleagues, and do some security training with the security teams. Medical exam, where you go and see the doctor once a year and they poke, prod and check places that you don't really want to be checked. Our flight check, which is out on the line, you'll have a training captain sit behind you. What's a day in the life of a pilot? Technical exam we do every year, which is a 50-question technical paper to to make sure you know what you're doing. Our SCP exams, we do at the end of the SCP day as well, which is all about, do you remember where the fire extinguisher is, the crash axe is, do you remember how to give CPR, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so, and just for those of you that think aircraft are slow at accelerating, yeah, and you think, well, I've got this monster car sitting on my drive at home, it does 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. It's uber quick. We can do 0 to 200 kilometers an hour in 20 seconds, so I'll race you to the end of the runway, I will win. It's been done many times. I think Top Gear have done it 3 or 4 times now, just to prove the point. We're going to talk about computers, because we're IT, we're devs, yeah? So this is the slats flaps control computer on an Airbus A320. Looks nothing like a computer you expect. Those pins there are where the plugs go onto and plug in. There's an A channel and a B channel on this, so you've got 2 computers inside that, and they compare answers, and then they both say, right, we're in agreement, and then we'll move the slats or flaps. Slats are the bits that come out the front of the wing, and flaps are the bits that come out the back of the wing. There's 2 of these on board, so now we've got 4 computers, all controlling those slats and flaps to make sure that we've got backups on backups as well. You notice I put the Intel inside in there. Who can tell me what processor is inside one of these? What would you think it would be? Interactive, come on, someone. Intel. Well, Intel, obviously, but which one? AC80. Sorry? AC80 or something in this. Yeah, it's a 286 processor. So you've got a 286 processor controlling the flaps. Like, you think about it, it's like, actually, it's not actually doing much. It's not got a GUI with Windows 3.1, whatever it was, stuff like that. So, yeah, they can use, and they use the older processors because they know what the problems are, because we've all tested them. It's not the latest Intel Core, whatever it is, with, how many gigaflops. You don't need it. On the Airbus, there's about 220 computers. I stopped counting. I got bored looking at the manuals. But around 220 computers, all making trillions of decisions every second. But all they do is present us, the warm, fleshy bits that sit at the flight controls, with what the computers think the problem is, yeah? And it's us to make the ultimate decision of what's going to happen, what we're going to do, how we're going to recover this aircraft and land safely and save all the people behind us, and including ourselves, obviously, a bit selfish about it. But so we're going to talk about how we use a model to check and make sure that we can land the aircraft safely. But first, let's look at some incidents. So this one here is at Manchester Airport back in 2007. Thanks to Simon Lowe for recording. There's Flappy Birds. There was Flappy Birds.
Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Thompson 253 Hotel, engine failure. We are continuing with northwesterly and then inbound towards Wallasey.
Thompson 263 Hotel, roger. All runways available for landing. Surface wind 0, 72 degrees at 5 knots.
I love the at the end. I think it's brilliant. Do you think they thought, when they got up that morning, and they were getting in the car, saying goodbye to their wife, their partner, and the kids, and going off to work, do you think that's what they were planning to have as their day at work that day? Yeah. Because they were eating their cornflakes, drinking their coffee. Do you think they, when they're walking through the terminal and talking about their day's work, going off to Tenerife to sit on the beach and drink, a nice drink with an umbrella, and chat to the cabin crew, and etc. Do you think they were thinking about having an incident like this as walking through the terminal building? Now, I'm probably thinking, you're thinking, no, they probably weren't. No, I don't think they were. I guarantee you they were. I do. We think about incidents like this, when I'm driving to work, I'm quite often thinking about, well, if that happens today, and I'll pick an exercise that we've done in the sim many, many times, and I'll just think to myself, well, we're engine failure today, I'm going to do this. And I go through memory drills, which is what they would have done there. Yeah? Before they even push back off stand, before the passengers get on board, yeah, we will go through a safety and emergency brief of what we expect to happen today. And we'll pick an emergency, maybe an engine failure, that was an engine surge, which is classed as an engine failure because the engine's broken, obviously. And we'll brief what we'll do. Who's going to do what? Right, you're going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to reach up here and push down, twiddle that button and that knob. Yeah, and we'll go through that. Yeah. And the reason we go through it in the flight deck as well is the fact that you can reach across and move the switch, move the button. Yeah? How many of you do this when you're about to deploy something new to prod? Yeah, I'll put it in the staging. How many of you look at it and say, well, we're going to go to GitHub and we're going to push that button, we're going to do that, and we're going to go to DevOps and do it. You don't, do you? How many of you have practiced and trained when something goes wrong in production, yeah, this is how we're going to deal with it. I don't see any hands. Yeah? I've been into teams, software teams, in big companies now, where we go in, I give this talk, and then what we do is we get their infrastructure in a testing environment, yeah, and I stand there as like a trainer person and say, right, turn that off and see what they do now. Yeah? And very quickly, they come to learn that they don't know their infrastructure. They don't know what they've got sitting in Azure or AWS or wherever it is. Yeah? So just practice, just go back to the office and just do it as an exercise. Friday afternoon, get some beers in, a couple of pizzas, yeah? Get a testing, not the live environment, don't do that on a Friday afternoon because that would be bad, yeah? But just get a testing environment and just turn something off. It's like, okay, well, that's broken. What would you do now? Azure Key Vault or something odd, yeah? Well, now what happens? Okay, it breaks in this way. Now, whenever I've done this with teams, what they've realized very, very quickly is they've suddenly got a list of issues that they now need to go and fix. Because they realised, actually, they thought they had instrumented this, and they thought they'd come up with a way of seeing this problem in real life. But when they turned that thing off that they didn't realise was over there somewhere, it shows no errors, but the client and customers are complaining. So just try it. Just give it a go. Even if it's just yourself doing it, and you'll see, actually, there's lots of problems that you'll find. I've done it with a few companies now, and there's a list of problems that I found afterwards that they can now tidy up. But what I'm pointing out is the fact that they would have briefed this, they would have practiced this in the simulator, they would have talked about it before they got airborne, yet they still had the problem. And you noticed it was nice and calm, collected, the gear was going up, they're flying the plane, they didn't talk to air traffic control, they have aviate, navigate, communicate, so they've been flying the aircraft. Yeah, are we flying safely? Yes, we're flying safely, climbing away, okay, positive rate, gear up, gear goes up. Yeah, okay, got engine surge, that's a Boeing, isn't it? So it would have been number 2, yeah, number 2 engine surge. Sorry, Boeing, it would have been right engine. You can see I've just got Boeing and Airbus still in my head. Right engine, engine surge, okay, engine surge checklist. And I'll call for the checklist, and I'll get the checklist out, and it'll be up on the screen, or they'll get the paper checklist out if it's not popped on the screen. And they'll go through nice, calm, methodical. And I'll do the initial actions, then they'll speak to air traffic control. But they would have noticed when they said to air traffic control, we're going to continue inbound towards Wallasey, yeah? I forgot what else they said. Air traffic control come back, said, all runways available, yeah, surface wind is whatever it is at 5 knots. Which means they can land back at Manchester on any of the runways. Air traffic control is going to sort the dots out on the radar, get them out of the way. But they've said they're going inbound to Wallasey. So they've already planned what they're going to do. If this goes wrong, this is where we're going to go, this is what we're going to do. Do you do that when you deploy to production? If this goes wrong, what are we going to do? Well, we'll roll back. Okay, well, how do you roll back? What are your actions to roll back? You practice that. You just push the prod. Yeah? I've seen at this conference, lots of people talking about DevOps and about the fact that, CI/CD, we just push, it's all automated, it's brilliant, it's fantastic, we've got all this Jenkins app and GitHub Actions app and everything else. There's no human in the loop. So the first time you find out there's a problem is when the customers are complaining, and you suddenly, if you've got a store, Amazon.com or whatever it is, and people are not buying stuff, and suddenly you're, well, why are we getting no orders? What's going on? That's 2-3 hours later that you find out there's a problem. And now what do you do? Well, now you've got all your managers screaming at you, you've got your customers screaming at you. Well, how are you going to roll back? Well, we deployed last night and we need to roll back. And who was it that did the deployment? Yeah? So you need to know how to go backwards if you're going to go forwards. Who remembers these 2 instances? So we've got Miracle on Hudson. They had 4 minutes from having a multiple bird strike to land on Hudson. 4 minutes. Not a lot of time, is it? Yeah. Thankfully, saved everyone. There's a couple of minor injuries, but everyone was saved. Everyone got off. Went for a nice swim in the Hudson. But yeah. How about the 038 incident? 2 miles, finals, 720 feet is when they realised that they had a problem. Basically, as you come into land, just before you kind of get near the runway, the engines come to approach idle, where they come up and they're ready for the go-arounds. Who's had a go-around in an aircraft? You climb back out again. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? Yeah. It's just us, we want to have another go. We've not given up flying yet, we want to go around and have another go. Wherever the incident is, a go-around is always safer than trying to land the plane, so you try and go around. The engines didn't come up to approach idle. They were struggling to keep the height of the aircraft, so they were dipping below the glide slope, which is the approach path into Heathrow. And the captain realised that they're in trouble, and when we do a go-around, one of the things we do is we move the flaps, and we get rid of the flaps, and then the big drag flaps out the back. We reduced the flaps, which does reduce lift, but initially, as the flap moves, you get a bump, yeah, and it bumps you maybe 50 feet. He wanted that 50 feet. So he sat there, and I've spoken to him, I had a couple of cold beers with him, sat in a bar and chatted, and he moved the flap, he was like, do I do this, do I not do this? And he had 30 seconds from realising the problem was, diagnosing the problem, thinking of a solution, and implementing that solution, yeah? Just here is A4. Just here is Hatton Cross Tube Station. It's a busy morning, so Tube Station will be packed full of passengers. Just here is a massive BP petrol garage. If you hadn't moved that flap lever, and it's been tested in the simulators, the fact that not moving that flap lever would have meant they would have hit probably one of the two, BP or Hatton Cross. Certainly the A4 with busy traffic at sort of 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. He had 30 seconds. And that's not something we've practiced in sim. We do now, but it wasn't something that was practiced in a sim at the time. But you see, if you don't think about and train for all the problems you can have, how are you going to know what to do? How are you going to have that ready bank of problem solving? We do it. We build tests. Yeah, we write tests to test our code. Yeah, we can debug code. But imagine doing that live. It's not what you do, is it? That's why you write tests and you get all the green ticks and you're happy. Excellent. It's green ticks. I go grab a coffee and a biscuit. This one here was literally a few weeks ago, and I've put it in because I want to talk about things that happened. So it was rejected takeoff at Kennedy. So we're interested in this big aircraft in the centre of the screen.
Delta 1943, wind 350.
We're interested in this little aircraft down here as well.
Clifford Agius, runway 4 left, Delta 1943.
American 106 Heavy, American 106 Heavy, hold position. American 106 Heavy, hold position.
Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance. Delta 1943, cancel takeoff clearance.
Rejecting.
Delta 1943, same intentions.
Yeah, we're going to have to go somewhere, run a couple of checklists, and probably make some phone call for Delta 1943.
Delta 1943, taxi right on Bravo, hold short of Hotel Bravo.
Right on Bravo, hold short of Hotel Bravo, Delta 19.
It's a bit chilly in that, isn't it? 145 passengers on the Delta aircraft going into Dominican Republic, I think it was. It's not been mentioned how many on the American Airlines flight, but that was coming to London Heathrow. So I can imagine there was probably a couple of hundred passengers. So yeah, it would have been a nasty accident. And you can tell why it was going on. You can tell the air traffic controllers are a bit, oh crap. Well, they even said it. I'll do my hair. Photo being taken. So again, air traffic control, they weren't expecting that either. They weren't expecting to see that happen on their runway. I've flown into JFK many, many times. Just that corner where you can see the larger aircraft crossing the runway, that is a known hotspot. Everyone knows that that is where things go bad. Yeah? The initial report that's come out from the FAA initially has said that the American Airlines, the captain was the pilot flying, so they were doing the flying that day, so they would have been taxiing the aircraft around. The first officer sitting in the right-hand seat was doing all the checks and doing the radio. So the pilot flying just moves the aircraft, the pilot monitoring does the radio. So they were doing all the checklist. They just changed all their procedures, literally a couple of weeks prior. First time that this first officer had really used them in anger. They'd practiced them in the sim, but first time they'd used them in anger. And they were busy trying to remember, this is how I used to do it, but I've now got to do it this way. Trying to answer the radio call. And if you do watch this again on YouTube, I'm not going to play it back again, but you'll notice that they read back the runway they were crossing. Air traffic control didn't pick up on the fact that they'd read that back, what they thought they were crossing, and air traffic control them something different. So if you watch it back on YouTube, you'll see the big reports will come out and it'll be in the news when it does come out. But that was an incident that could have cost, 300-400 lives. Yeah. The Delta Airlines flight got to 115 knots before they aborted. It's about 133-ish miles an hour, close to 200 kilometers an hour. So yeah, they were going quite quick. Obviously, you had to go and make some phone calls, order some new pants, maybe. I don't know, but it's, again, they wouldn't have thought about that when they're eating the cornflakes in the morning. They would have talked about it. We have to abort, we certainly do it at JFK, and we do it at Heathrow when we've got Terminal 4 is just reopened at Heathrow, so we talk about someone crossing going to Terminal 4, and we're taking off 27 left. If someone crosses in front of us, this is what we're going to do. We're going to abort, full reverse, max brakes. If we still think we're going to hit them, we'll kick out the auto brake and we'll give max manual, which is going to burst the tyres, it's going to damage the wheels, but we don't want to hit the thing in front of us. But that's what we'll talk about. It takes seconds. But now we've got in ahead, we've talked about it, who's going to do what? Yeah? You've yet to see a dev team doing this when they're pushing production. So this is why I'm trying to sort of highlight the problems. So how do we deal with this? We have an awesome book Professor Steve Peters wrote. He's got another one coming out shortly, which is to follow on to this, Chimp Paradox. And Professor Steve Peters is the one that helped with the British cycling team, helped with the Olympic team, and did the whole thing about getting the teams ready for competing at such a high level. But you have an input, yeah, big bang, yeah. You pick up a hot frying pan, that sort of thing. The chimp is super, super fast. That is your caveman, cavewoman-esque kind of response. It's super, super fast response. I think it's something like 20 times faster than the human. Yeah. So that's the chimp kind of fight or flight response. You'll drop the frying pan, you hear a bang, you jump back, that sort of thing. The human is quite slow because we're human. We're slow because we're analytical. We stop, we think. And we think, well, how are we going to, what was that? Oh, it was the frying pan was really hot and I got burned. Well, I'm not going to pick up again because that hurt. I'm not going to do that again. Right, I'll go and get that tea towel and their oven gloves and I'll pick the frying pan up. It was a loud bang. Oh, okay, I can see that car's jerking along the road. It's probably backfiring. That's what that was. So that is how you get a response into the human, into the brain. There's a computer system as well, which is kind of a lookup table of things that have happened. And the chimp, before it responds, it looks in the computer system, the lookup table, and says, have I seen this before? Yeah, I have. Okay, I'm happy. I'll sit there and eat my banana and be happy. That is, things that, like when you get shell-shocked army soldiers coming back from theatre of war, they'll hear a loud bang and they'll like, well, last time I heard a loud bang, my friend died, so they'll be really scared by a loud bang. But we use that. You can train your chimp by putting extra entries in this checklist. So we use that by going into the simulator and practicing all the time. So when something happens, like an engine surge, like someone crossing the runway in front of you, our chimp is quite calm. So I know what to do here. This is what you got to do. And you'll start acting without realising it. And the human catches up a few seconds later and says, oh, you've already done it. Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Think about the last time you drove your car to work or go and pick the kids up from school, that sort of thing. Do you remember when you just kind of change gears? When you go through the traffic light and you think to yourself, was that green or not? Are the police around? Quick. That is your chimp driving the car. It's automated. It's the computer doing that bit. It's your little internal autopilot. Yeah, so you can train it because you go and do driving lessons to learn how to do it. How we use it, though, is we've got the chimp, we've got the human, and we've got a checklist in the middle, which is either computer-generated on the ECAM or ICAS, or it's our big paper QRH, quick reference handbook, that we have as well. So if you've got not a lot of time, it's naturalistic, that's your fight or flight response. Analytical is your human, where you sit, you have a meeting, you get coffee and pizzas, and you think about it and talk about it. And in the middle is the rule-based, and it's a way of shortcutting, i.e. a checklist will make sure that the chimp doesn't make a mistake, and it allows you to just do something without having to analyse it. Someone's already done the analytics, someone's already thought about it, there's normally lawyers involved and that sort of thing, so they've come up with how to do it. So some of the things I've had in my 20 years career of flying planes around the world, so I've been struck by lightning numerous occasions. Engine surge, top climb, so that aircraft that was taken out where the engine was going bang, 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 had that just at top climb. I'd literally just sat and put a forkful of sausage in my mouth to have my breakfast because we'd been up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, so who thinks, show of hands, who thinks that is a chimp or human response? So big bang, aircraft swinging around the sky, bang, bang. Chimp? Yeah, quite a few. Human? Yeah, actually it was pretty much a chimp response at first because I was eating my breakfast and I was like, what the hell is that? But then because I had the rules to sit back on because I'd seen it before, I was like, I know what that is instantly because I've trained it. So then the human kicks in and it's like, oh man, I want to eat my breakfast, man. I'm putting breakfast on the floor and go into the drills of what we've got to do. What else we got? Medical emergency, just pushing back off stand. We get a call from the back from the cabin crew. Captain, we've got a passenger on the floor back here. I can see actually they've got them on the floor and they're doing chest compressions. It doesn't look good. Give me a minute and I'll call you back. I'll go and find out what's going on. That's all we got. Chimp? Human? Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was kind of a bit of both. It kind of sat in the middle. We've got a rule for that. So we stopped the pushback, told the ground crew, told air traffic control on the tower at Heathrow that we've got a medical emergency standby. They then start some procedures in the background, getting ambulances and fire crews and that ready. Fire crews at most airports are medically trained, so they can get them to us quicker than an ambulance. Yeah, and then they called back up and they had the heart start stuff, which we have on our aircraft. They ended up giving the patient 3 jumps with the jump start kit. When the paramedics turned up, they said they only give the second one is for the family because it's something like it's less than 1% of the second one working. That, you know, if the second one doesn't work, then that's it. So they do a second one just for the family. They did 3 and got a weak pulse back, and thankfully the guy was taken off to hospital with a pulse and quite happy. Airport closed due to snow, so flying across Atlantic, going to Newark on this occasion, and it was, you know, no snowstorm was forecast on the weather report we had. It was meant to be much further south and coming up, but we speak to, you know, nothing on the weather report. Speak to Newark or Boston actually it was, and they said to us, Newark is snow closed. What are your intentions? Like, you got to love American air traffic control. Human, few. Chimp, few more. Initially, chimp response, it was like, what the, you know. And then it was like, well, okay, now what are we going to do? So now the human has to kick in and be analytical. Okay, well, we'll go to Boston then. Now it's snow closed as well. Okay. And then you start thinking about where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and do we have fuel for this? Next thing, baggage system failure, we'll come back to you later. But the model we use is TDODAR. So this is the model that we practice, we use when we're flying. It's born from NASA, from the Gemini and Apollo era. So those that you're into your space, this is awesome. We added the T probably about 10, 15 years ago. We realized that time is really important. But the DODAR is the NASA model, and we just renamed it because they use some other words which don't really affect aviation, it's more for space. But the model is exactly the same. So plus astronauts are super clever, and we're not. So we have T for time, D for diagnosis, O for options, D for decision, A for assign, and R for review. Now, that's the model we use. You can adapt that to what you do, but I've used this for software teams where I've been dropped in as a freelance dev to help them out when they're doing something critical, and this works every time. It works on the flight deck, it works in the office. I've done it with medical teams where they're practicing sort of a major incident, and again, this works. So the way to remember it, though, is we all like Homer Simpson, don't we? Yeah? So if you think of a British Homer Simpson, he likes tea, because he's British, obviously. And he goes, "Don't!" because I've got a problem. Ah, I've got a solution. Yeah? That's what I was told by a trainer many years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. But yeah, British Homer Simpson, cup of tea. Don't! Ah, I've got a solution. So, and you'll notice the don't bit is the what's gone wrong and what have I got to do, and the R bit is solving the solution. So we'll look a bit deeper. Now, I know slides shouldn't really have too much text on them, but like I said, I give this to different teams, and everyone likes to get the camera out and take pictures of what you do and how it works. So that's why I've left the words on there rather than pictures. But time, really, really important. Isn't it an emergency? Yeah. Do we have to do something? Is there a rule? Is there a checklist that we made a few months ago when we see this before? Yeah? Or is this something we need to get Brian out of bed because, you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning and the website's down and we don't know what to do? Can we make more time? Can we stand up a backup instance of our whatever it is that we've got going? Yes or no? Hopefully, if you've practiced it and turned it off and realised that actually having a backup is really good, we can do that. We have a thing where do we have time for a cup of tea, which reminds us of Homer Simpson, and we love cups of tea, so we'll push the call bell and say, can we have 2 teas, please, or coffees, depends what time of day it is. But a really, really important thing is start a stopwatch, note the time, do something, stick it in Slack, right? Instant raised at and a time. Yeah? If you've got an automated instant system, that should be, hopefully, built in. When did the incident happen? When was it tracked? T also stands for team. I see far too many people do this, and they go into it, and it's just them in their little cocoon, couple of devs, you know, a couple of DevOps team, and they don't really think about the wider team. How is this affecting the business? How is it affecting sales? How is it affecting the client, the customer? Ask them, what are you seeing? Because you're internal. You're on like, your internal system. What you see on your screen, in your web browser or on your dev tools, and etc., could be totally different to what's being seen out in the real world. You could be seeing the world falling apart, and happily for them, it's all just working. And it's your connection to Azure or AWS or whatever it is. So talk to people, pick up the phone, communicate. It's a fantastic book by Matthew Said, Black Box Thinking. He goes through many instances. One of the ones he does talk about towards the beginning of the book is some doctors. Is one of our captains, is his wife going into hospital to have a minor surgery. So minor, innocuous, that she was like, can you go to the shops and get this from Tesco's, and can you make sure you pick the kids up from school, and I'll see you tonight, and what we're having for dinner. That kind of conversation happened before she went down into operating theatre. She gets to the operating theatre, they put her anaesthetic, give her the injection, etc. And then she has a shock reaction to the anaesthetic, and she starts to constrict her airway. So it was a training doctor was there, so he's like, it's all right, I know what to do. We're going to put an airway in, and we'll get that. So gets the tubes from the nurse, who walks over a tray and starts to intubate her, putting the thing down her throat to try and get the tube in. Can't get it done. The senior doctor's there in the operating theatre and says, get out of the way, I'll show you how to do this, and kind of, tries to go, I can't get this done. Because they'd hit the nurse had hit the crash alarm, a registrar comes rushing in a few minutes later and says, get out of the way, I'll show you how to do this, I know what I'm doing, tries to do it, can't get it done. The whole time, remember I mentioned team, the whole time there's a nurse standing there, a junior nurse, hadn't been doing the job that long. She's standing there with the tray with emergency tracheotomy kit, which is where they cut a slit in the throat there, and they can bypass the obstruction and go straight into the lungs. She knew what to do, but they didn't call on her. How many of you have had an incident at work where it's all falling apart, and you're like, I'm the senior dev, I'm the team lead, I know what I'm doing, I've been here 10 years, I know exactly what we need to do. And not called on the junior dev, they might have that little thing because they were looking up something and they were trying to learn the system. They probably know it better than you. But you don't call on them, do you? So call on the team. Get everyone there together, including the junior person. They probably have the insights that you don't. Or they all say, well, what about this? Which might be totally wrong, might be garbage, but it'll be enough to jog you in. You know what? Not that, but how about this? 11 minutes it took them to get an emergency airway in. Sadly, brain damage, passed away a few weeks later. Yeah, so as morbid as it is, it's a fantastic book. Covers some IT stuff in there, which I think is absolutely hilarious. I'll grab the book and read it, it's awesome. So, diagnosis. All we're trying to do here is diagnose a problem, not how we're going to fix it. All we're trying to do is what's happened. Is it really the DNS issue, or is it really Azure's outage, or is it our internal systems? Whatever it is, just diagnose the problem. Yeah, work out what is wrong first. Have we got an engine failure, or is it an engine surge? What is the difference? To us, it's a big difference. Whatever it is in your system, just work out what it is and talk about it, and agree as a team what's to be tackled. Important thing here, how many of you are team leads? A few hands? I'm talking to you here. Don't go in there as a team lead with your team lead hat on and say, right, this is what's wrong, this is what we're doing. Yeah, treat it as a team. Yeah, when we do this on the flight deck, when we do it in a simulator, it's completely level authority gradient. I just as much say, well, I'm the captain now, used to be the first officer, but I just as much say as a captain, and when I'm the captain, the FO can tell me I'm an idiot, and there's like, okay, fine, what do you think we need to do? Yeah, I've been doing it for 20 years, they might be only doing it for a year or two, but what is it that they know that I don't? What have they seen that I've not? Yeah, so I know it's difficult as a leader to kind of sit in your hands, but really it's important to work as a team. Options, this one is the brainstorming, you know how to do this. You've got the whiteboards, yeah, you've done this, haven't you? You've gone and done the brainstorming session. The good thing to ask though, if there's nothing up on the board or there's a couple of things up on the board, just pick someone at random. Give me another option. Tell me why we can't do this one. Yeah? The important thing is to ask open questions, not one that can elicit a yes/no answer, because if you elicit a yes/no answer under stress, you'll just say yes or no. You'll say what you think the other person wants. So if you ask a long answer question, the human has to engage, not the chimp. So they have to stop, to think about it, they have to form the words in their head, and then give you the answer. Yeah? So ask an open question. Take input for all members. not just the team in the room, the wider business, customers, including that quiet person that just joined the team as an intern that's sitting in the back of the room. Ask them what they think. Have you got any ideas? Give us a solution. What do you think we should do? Don't drag it out. The clock's ticking. D is decide as a team, and this is really, really hard for team leads to do. As a team, decide what you're going to do and how you're going to solve it. I've sat with a dev team and we were doing one of these exercises where we were turning stuff off, and the CTO was sitting in the room at the back, with his baseball cap on, trying to look cool. And because he was sitting there, everyone was being, because he was sitting. I kicked him out. I was like, you out, go. But I wanted, no, go, off you go. And the team kind of opened up a bit. Then I realised that there was a couple of team leads in the room, so I kicked them out as well. Right, you out, go. Go get coffee, get everyone coffee and sort that out, off you go. As soon as all the leaders had left the room, the ideas were banging like that. They were really, really quick. And they were awesome ideas of how to solve the problem. We were doing it slow time, so we went through these and stepped through nice and slowly. So like, come on, options. We're going to give 5 minutes to generating options. Go. Yeah? But because there's no hierarchy there, they can come up with all these different ideas and different options. And then the important thing at the end is state the decision to the whole team, everyone. Put it on Slack, put it on Teams, wherever you have your thing. This is what we think the problem is, and this is how we're going to solve it. And the reason you do it as a team isn't because the team know better than you as a team lead, but if you do it as a team, you don't lose anyone. If the manager or the team lead says, this is the problem, and this is what we're going to do. If the rest of the team think you're an idiot and think, actually, we should really be doing this, you've lost them. They're going to trudge back to their desk. He has no idea. Idiot, that guy. And you've lost them. If they've got something within them that they've put into the idea and they've put into the solution, they're going to trot back, this is brilliant, right, you do this, I'll do that. And you'll just hear it in their voices. That's what you want as a team lead. That's what you're looking for to solve the problem. And they're really, really important, Apollo 13 kind of stuff. Fail to decide is decide to fail. If you're stuck here and you've got a whiteboard that's empty and you're like, oh, we don't know. The clock's ticking, it's running down. Just pick one. I don't know what one to pick. They're equally good solutions. Just pick one, A or B. Flip a coin. If you've got more than that, just look at it and just literally, like, hands up for 1, 2, 3. Just pick one. Because as soon as you start down the path, whichever one it is, as soon as you start down that path, you'll soon realise whether you picked a good one or a bad one. Because if you start down the path and it starts to fall apart a little bit more, people are going to be phoning you. You're going to have customers, the business. You're going to realise that actually your board's starting to turn red on your DevOps stuff. You're going to realise that something's gone wrong. And that is when you step back. Don't be, no, we've picked this, we're carried on. Because the team lead said so. That's when you stop, you review, you step back. Right, okay, we go back to our options. Whiteboard's still there. We've still got these options. We'll pick a different one. We'll try down that path. And also, as you start down a path, you'll get some feedback, which is extra nuggets of information, which you then use to decide, actually, we're going down the right path. Actually, we were going to do this, but actually, we now, the system's told us this. Let's step over here and do that instead. So really, really important. Don't be human about the, no, we've told the business this is what we're doing because we put it on Slack, we put it on Teams, so we're not going to change our mind. Just stop, review, step back, try again. A, this is a sign. This is for those of you who are team leads. The rest of you that are not team leads yet, you will be one day. This is for you. As team leader, hopefully, if you're a good team lead, and everyone loves a good team lead, you should know the strengths and weaknesses of your team. So give your team members something to do which is within their skill set. Don't get the junior guy to go and stand up a new instance of whatever it is. Give them something that's within their skill set. Equally, if you've got a really senior dev in your team, don't give them the menial task of you can just go and delete the log files because that is belittling them. So give members of the team tasks that fit within their skill set. Make the task short and sweet. You don't want to give them a task that's going to take them 2 days because you've got no feedback then of how they're going. Make it short and sweet. Okay, go and do that. Let me know when you've done that. But this is where, give them the whole task flow, but give them milestones to tell you where they're at. So that you as a team lead know what's going on. So it could be saying, we're an engine failure and we're going to carry on and do this and do that and everything else. Okay, while we're doing this, keep an eye on the fuel. If it gets down to 5 tons, hit me and we're going to do something different. Right, okay, brilliant. So you've now set a milestone of what you're going to do as a team. So you could say, right, we're going to try this for 10 minutes. If we get nowhere, we're going to stop, we're going to step back, we're going to review and think of something different because we've picked a different path. Complete the task well. Ask for help. If you're stuck, yeah, there's no shame. Yeah. In aviation, if we can't do something, I don't know what I'm doing, or that was me, sorry, that was my mistake. Yeah, we're open. We report it, we let everyone know. We have air safety reports we write out. We do them all the time, something even innocuous and simple. But also as a team lead, consider overload. If you see your team member still on Slack or still sending emails at 2 o'clock in the morning about a problem you're dealing with, they're probably overloaded. Why are they really up? Unless you know that person is someone that gets up at midday and works till 3 in the morning. But just think about your team and what they're doing. And R, I've mentioned it a few times, review. This is where you stop, you think, you come back. How much time? We said we've got 2 hours to solve this problem. We've got 10 minutes to solve this problem. We've got 90 seconds to solve this problem. We've got 30 seconds left. Okay, right, what are we going to do now? Yeah? Still a good decision? Yeah, I can step back. I'm human, I'm fallible. We all are. Don't be scared to change. Come back. Fix that mistake early, and it won't be a mistake. Yeah, and the way to think about this is think about, well, if you fix it in development, it's not going to be a problem in production, is it? You fix it in the DevOps process, it won't be a problem in production. When it gets to production, it's a really big problem, because now the whole world knows you've got a problem. So fix it early, review, come back, step back. So that's our model. That's what we use. I use this pretty much daily when I'm going to work. I use it with the wife at home. Don't tell her, shh, you're not watching, are you, honey? Review, and I'm not said before, review. Really, really, really important. And the extra bit of the review is that's your opportunity to make a checklist, to write it down. You won't be at that company in a few years' time. You might have moved on. You know, maybe you are going to be there, you know, whatever it is. But write it down. Make sure you get a report written down somewhere, you know, a blog post that's internal, whatever it is. This is what happened, you know, and use the TDODAR model. This is what happened, this is what we diagnosed, these were our options. We picked this, yeah, we assigned these tasks to these different people, and this is the review. This is what come out of it. We got the production system back up and running. We realised that this is what happened, and we need to fix this over here, and these are the issues because we didn't see it in our metrics, so we're going to put some extra metrics around it. That's going to be part of our next sprint. So you can see where we're going here. If you review, you'll make sure the issue doesn't happen again. So we've got 10 minutes left, which is awesome. I mentioned at the beginning, we're going to do a little exercise. We get into little teams. You might need to move around a bit. And we're just going to have a bit of fun. We're going to use the TDODAR model, yeah? So you remember, it's Homer Simpson, he's British, he's got a cup of tea for time. And he goes, oh! I've got a solution. So we're going to pose a problem to you, and then want you to work as it in a team. I'm going to need each team to have a team lead, yeah? So if we can get into groups rather than sitting sort of staring at each other. Come on, just turn around. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, whatever you want. 5, 10, really don't care. You know, just kind of naturally, wherever you're sitting next to each other, just get in groups. And those at home that watch on YouTube or Slack, you know, do it on your own. Go and get the cat or the dog. So first thing, just pick a team lead. Yeah, anyone, really doesn't matter. Just team lead, so I've got someone to call on to get the decisions of what's happened. So we've got a challenge now. So this is a foggy day at Heathrow, as it was yesterday and the day before and last week. Thick fog, you can see all the tall buildings sticking out the top of the fog. It's only over 100 or so feet, as it has been for the last few weeks. You can see Canary Wharf off in the distance. Oh, actually that's Croydon. You can see Canary Wharf. You can see the M4 corridor. What clears fog? Hot air. And Houses of Parliament are just underneath there. There's lots of hot air there, so it's cleared it quite nicely. So you can see it's thick fog. So that's the weather forecast. Yeah, we're in Helsinki. And this is a real exercise. This really happened some years ago. And our scenario is 4:30 in the morning. So we would have been woken up in the hotel about 3:15 in the morning and to be driven to the airport to get there, to get on board the aircraft. And we're doing a return flight to Heathrow, and then we're going to go off and do something else. 150 passengers, so completely full load on the Airbus A320. High club load, they're the people who pay a little bit extra, sitting on slightly nicer seats up front. And checks complete, I've put that there. On the day we had this, we had a technical problem with the aircraft as well, so engineering team were in the flight deck with us trying to solve that. Could we go, couldn't we go? But you don't need to worry about that. Checks complete to make it a little bit easier for you. We're in London, thick fog, we've just seen. Weather report from the Met Office says it's going to last to midday. Yeah, right. It's never right, is it? Who's ever seen a BBC weather report that's correct? Air traffic control advises us of a slot of 4:50, so in 20 minutes' time. You've only got 10 minutes. I'm cutting it down because I've only got 10 minutes. A slot, for those you have hear us say it from flight deck over the PA, we've got a slot delay and we need to do this, or it's a slot delay in 2 hours' time. A slot is when you're allowed to get airborne. So Central Flow Management in Brussels will, here again, will do give each aircraft a slot. So you're allowed to get airborne 5 minutes before or 10 minutes after. So you've got a 15-minute window to be wheels off the runway. So you can start your takeoff run 6 minutes before the slot, because it takes a minute to go down the runway and get airborne. Yeah, and that is to make sure that when you come somewhere like Heathrow, which is slot constrained, they can plan all the traffic, so all the traffic's not holding in the holds over London and burning all that aviation fuel and all the CO2, et cetera, So it's a really good system, works really well, but it's just bloody annoying when you've got a slot delay that's in 2 hours' time. TRM, Turnaround Manager, that's the person with a clipboard and a vis jacket. It's really important. They're the people that look after getting the baggage loaders to put the bags in the right place and make sure the passengers are loading at the right time and got the fuel and you got the food. And Ross in and says, Captain, we've got just been told by the baggage team that baggage system failed, and I've called the engineers. They're on their way to the airport authorities, and we still need half the bags to be delivered to the aircraft side to be loaded. So that is your problem. What are your team going to do? You're in your teams. You've picked a team leader. What are you going to do? You've got 60 seconds. Go. I've done the T for you. Time's up. It's a bit more information. So, team leaders in each team, who's going? Hands up. Who's staying then? I should see a group of hands. Okay, so everyone's planning to stay, waiting for the bags, I assume. Hey, Brandon, how are you? I thought I heard you laugh. So a bit more information then. I heard someone shout out, we've got 10 seconds to go. That was awesome. That's really good, because now you're thinking about the time. You're reviewing in your head, you think about that. Works really, really well in meetings, management meetings and stuff like that. Look, we said the meeting's an hour, we've got 15 minutes to go, no one said anything or made a decision yet. We're still talking about the type of biscuits that are next to the water cooler. So a bit more information. You can send an ACARS message, which is effectively a text message, literally a text message, back to London, back to the computers, and say, when would we expect a new slot? You can do like a kind of soft request as such. And you've been advised by the traffic managers back in London that a new slot, at the moment, if you ask for it right now, you'll be given one at 8 o'clock. It's still 4 o'clock in the morning, 20 past. So it's a few hours away. They sometimes come forward, move forward as aircraft get stuck in places. But 8 o'clock, that's a long delay. Off the back of that, you then ask the aircraft movements team, again, a text message, what's the aircraft doing today? So you can think about what the aircraft is doing, because it's not just your passenger, the 150 got behind you, but it's all the onwards. This happened in late November, early December, so it's leading up to Christmas. So you got that in the back of your head. Have I bought the wife a really good present this year? I don't know. So it's doing 6 full flights a day, all completely full of 150 plus passengers. So you've got all those people you could upset. If you delay and don't get the aircraft to London till 8 o'clock, you're upsetting a lot of passengers. Yeah, so you've got that to think about again. So back in your teams. Another 60 seconds. T is done for you. Time's up. So quick show of hands from team leads. Who's going? Got 2 teams going, 3 teams going now. So you're obviously staying. Odd team out, okay. How are you? I don't know. I heard one of you mention just here, is it safe to land in Heathrow? We can. You know, we can do Cat 3 auto lands. Literally cannot see anything out the windows. The first time you do it, it's pretty scary, I'm not gonna lie. But again, you practice it in the sim, practice in the sim, practice in the sim. First time you do it for real, in real world, sitting there, and all you see is one light whiz past as you land on the runway. It's pretty, whoa. But after that, you've done it. And again, you've put a little check in your computer checklist, now your chimp is happy. Yeah, it's not nervous anymore. But yeah, you can land, and imagine doing 160 miles an hour along the motorway, along whatever motorway it is that's near you, in thick fog, and trying to find the exit to get off the motorway. That's why they delayed the aircraft and there's a bigger gap, because we had to slow down to literally a crawling pace and then taxi along, oh, there's the exit, and we'll get off nice and slowly. Otherwise, normally you exit in the runway at about 50, 60 miles an hour, just like you would on a motorway. And then we slow down and brake and then come up the taxiway. So that's why there's a bigger delay. So when you hear the delays due fog, there's a real reason for it. It's for safety. So next time you're banging your fist on the desk and saying, oh, I need my flight, I've got to get to NDC Oslo or wherever you're going to, think about that. A bit more information for you. Cabin crew pop in, finally, with that cup of coffee you've been dreaming about since 3 o'clock. They hand you coffee and say, Captain, we've got 12 Gold Card members in club. You know, Gold Carders, they've spent a lot of money with us. And they're asking for the quickest way into London, because they're tight on time because they're going to NDC London. Do you have a London Underground map? Because I want to make sure I get them the right stations. So you've got that. That's when you give them a brief. You tell them what is going on, and you give them a quick brief of what's going on there. The cabin crew then come back and so off the back of that information, so we've got a really large group of teenagers at the back, who are part of a band, giving a performance tonight in London at Royal Albert Hall. The TRM is standing down over here and says, we haven't seen any out of gauge stuff. Any out of gauge is stuff that isn't a normal bag, so like a trombone or something, or drum set or whatever it is. Maybe that's part of the missing equipment. Let me go and check. Another 60 seconds, go. Time's up. Show of hands again. Who's going? Everyone now. Okay, cool. You've changed your mind, which is really good. You've been human. You've stepped back, you've reviewed. It's like actually a bit different information now. Bit more information. This is the last bit. So the baggage system apparently is broken, and it says it's going to take 30 minutes to repair. We're all engineers. We know we lie. Come on, be honest. It's more like 2 hours, not 30 minutes. It's a broken belt, so 30 minutes is a great estimate at 5 o'clock in the morning from the team that's about to go home. Actually, it just started to snow. You've got to love Norway, haven't you? Just started to snow, and slight snow flurry. You speak to air traffic control in the town and say, yeah, there's a storm coming in from the north, and if you don't get going shortly, you're going to have to de-ice the aircraft, which means you might miss your slots. It takes about 20 minutes to de-ice a short-wheel aircraft, about 30 minutes for a bigger aircraft, and it costs about $1,000-ish, give or take a bit. So that's the cost of the company as well. So now you've got to start thinking about the company, the costs. Are we going to meet the slot? Because if you don't meet it, you've got 10 minutes after the slot. It takes about 20 minutes to de-ice the aircraft. So what are you going to do? Last 60 seconds, go. Time's up. So what did you decide to do? Firstly, PowerPoint. I mean, that took me forever to do that spinny disky thing. Yeah, forever to do that. That was a good challenge. So what did you decide to do? Who's going? Hands up. Everyone. Awesome. I had some interesting comments as I was walking around. People thinking about the passengers, the cost of the company, what they're going to do with the bags, all starting to make plans of what you're going to do next. So I need a volunteer. Who's a volunteer? Team lead for one of the teams. Come on. Who? Go on then. You can stand up. There's not many people around. You can shout. So your name is? Dave. Dave, you're the captain of this flight. Your sec's back to London. These are your passengers. You've got to do your PA. Over to you. What are you going to say?
We're going to take off as planned. There's roughly 75 people whose bags are on the plane. We'll then continue as normal with their day. The flights for the rest of the day will continue as normal. The unlucky few whose bags are left behind, hopefully their bags will be able to be potentially added on to a flight later on in the day, arrive later, assuming that's an option in air flight, I don't know. But, and while they'll be inconvenienced, it'll have the smallest impact, probably to the smallest group.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Dave's your captain. You're the passengers. Awesome. I'm going to pick on you a little bit here. If you're a passenger on board that flight, what's your first thoughts?
Where's my bags?
Exactly. I'm one of those 75. What do you mean we're going to take off? Weren't we going to do that anyway? Yeah? I'm picking on you to prove a point. Yeah? Your passengers in this scenario, yeah, are your customers, the business team, your manager, your line manager, you know, whoever it is in the business who wants to know what's going on. Yeah? Azure was out yesterday. I'm pretty certain Satya Nadella doesn't know exactly what happens. He might do, but he probably doesn't know exactly. He's probably been told a version of the story as it's gone up the food chain. Yeah? Think about what you're saying, your audience. Think about who you're talking to. Yeah? Think about how you're going to communicate. Part of the TDODAR review, we've got a silent little C at the end now that we've added. It'll probably become a big C when the training team get round to it. Think about the communication. How are you going to communicate your piece, yeah, to the people you're going to affect the most? What you tell your passengers is one thing. What you tell the company is completely different. In this case, it was my sector. So, morning, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard this flight to London Heathrow. It's just starting to snow here. If you can take your seats really quickly, we're going to get underway and try and beat the snow flurry as we get out underway here. We've also got air traffic control slot restriction, which means we need to be airborne in the next 10 minutes. We'll get airborne. Flight time back to Heathrow is about 2.5 hours, and I'll speak to you later on the flight and give you the latest time of arrival and latest weather. But please do sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight. Thank you. That was it. I told them nothing.
So you didn't tell them anything about the packages?
Because I would have had a riot. I didn't know whose bag it was. You know, it could have been the 12 gold card holders that come to NDC Oslo and they're playing in the Line Breakers tonight, and they've got the guitar and the piano and stuff like that.
What time did you tell them about the baggage, or did you leave that for somebody else?
I'll come on to that. What we did, we got airborne, and we spoke to our team in Helsinki and said, you know, what was it? And they said actually it was the out of gauge baggage belt that had broken. So it was all the band equipment that didn't arrive. Okay, fine. So then we spoke to London and said, okay, this baggage, all these like band equipment stuff, can we get it later on? There's a flight in 2 hours' time. We're going to put it on that. Okay, brilliant. Managed to find a London Underground map, which gave to cabin crew. Just pleased the 12 gold card holders. They were happy. They could make it to NDC London. We spoke to cabin crew and said, can you speak to whoever is the lead of the band and tell them all the band equipment isn't arriving. It'll be along later on a flight. This is the flight details. This is the phone number for our baggage team. And can we get a phone number and contact details so they can call you when it arrives in London and ask you where you want it delivered? Yeah. Spoke to them. They said, this is the phone number. We'd like to deliver to the Royal Albert Hall, please. And that was it. Everyone was happy. We didn't de-ice. We got underway, got going. The rest of the flights that day were all okay, and we managed to solve the problem. But it's all about communicating, speaking to the right people at the right time. Yeah? We reviewed it as we were coming into landing, and we chatted to our team in London again and just say, right, these bags been found and sorted? Yes, they've been organised, been put in a bin, they're ready to go on the next flight out of Helsinki. Okay, so then we passed that information back again. And what come of that is the fact that as they're getting off, you'll probably see quite often the captain and or first officer, it's always the person that landed the plane. So if there's someone standing there with a hat on, they're proud of their landing, and it was a nice landing. There's no one there, it's like, well, that didn't go so well, did it? Crash. But That's a personal landed aircraft. So I stood there and we're landing to Heathrow, and as I was all getting off, they were all saying thanks and that, and the leader of the bands, or the orchestra, I suppose, was getting off and says, thanks for the information, it's really great. Is it all going to come to Royal Albert Hall tonight? Yep, we've been told, we'll be put in a van, we brought you tonight, and you've got the numbers, and one of our team will call you in a few hours' time and let you know that it's arrived in Heathrow. Thank you very much. They're all getting off, all these teenagers. There's a young girl, she's about 8 years old. She played the cello, which is a big instrument. Yeah, she was over the moon. Because their plan was that they were going to get all their equipment off the baggage belt and get on the London Underground to go to... And she's got this massive thing. And she said, none of these big boys here will carry my cello for me, so, thank you, because now you're going to deliver it to me and I don't need to worry about it. So she was over the moon, the fact that, that her cello is going to be delivered to her in the Royal Albert Hall. I know I'm a few minutes over time. I'm just going to cover this at the end of every single flight. No matter what's happened, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, it really doesn't matter. We have a post-flight review. It's part of our checklist. Yeah, shutting engines down, turning the seatbelt signs off, turning the batteries off, all those things we do. And at the very bottom of the checklist, the last thing we do before we leave the flight deck, we do a post-flight review. What happened and why? Did it go well? Yeah, it went really well. Okay, why did it go well? Because we did a really good brief and we talked about all the pertinent points about getting into, Milan, Malpensa, we've got the Alps and how we're going to descend. We're going to cut us short. We talked about it, we briefed it, we reviewed it. What we're going to do, what we're going to repeat and what we're going to avoid doing next time to make sure you don't make the same mistakes. What SOPs followed, standard operating procedures. Did we do everything as per the book or did we break them? Okay, we broke them. Okay, well, why did we break them? We broke them because of X, Y, and Z. Right, now we'll write a safety report to say we broke SOPs, and it's an open culture. It's like standing up and saying, I brought down production, it was me, but why did you do that? Because I see the factory was being hacked, so I brought it down to stop the hack. Whatever it is you've done. You write a safety report which explains, fresh, right there, in the moment, you write your safety report and it goes off to the team. In aviation, there's no such thing as you'll be given your P45 because you've made a bad decision. It will just be a case of you go for tea and biscuits with management, you'll talk through it, you'll come up with a reason why you've done it and what you need to do, what they need to change in the manuals, the SOPs, what they need to change in the next sim check to make sure it doesn't happen again. We're all human, we're all fallible, we all make mistakes. As long as it's not made with malice. If you've done it with malice, then yeah, P45, court case, everything else. But if it's not made with malice, it's open. We'll talk about it. We have a monthly magazine that goes out, all the flight safety issues that happened in the previous month, which is all those reports which have been anonymised, so names are taken out, the flight numbers, and it just says this is what happened. We had smoke, fire and fumes event. There was smoke in the rear of the galley. It's because the previous crew had left some stuff in there when the crew turned it on, and it burnt the buns or whatever it was. There was smoke. Okay, and the crew did this, and this is how they dealt with it. What further actions are required as well? This here, I've implemented at a couple of big companies in their software dev team. So when they have something go wrong, they push the production, it doesn't work, and they solve the problem, they've done the TDODAR model, they've done the review, and they finish. They go through this, or a slightly edited version that fits their team, and from that is where they make their checklists, where they make their reports, their internal blog posts. So if they were to lead the company next year, the new team lead, the new team that are there know that we had this a year ago and this is what the team did, this is how they did it. Or actually, we just had this happen and these are the issues that we've raised from that incident and now let's go and fix them. So it's a really good thing to bring in. I know I've run over time. I'll just put these up, you can read through them as well. That's enough for me. I'm around the conference. You'll probably find me at the Microsoft stand downstairs with Adam and the team. Don't forget to grab your swag and come and see us. If you've got any questions, reach me on Twitter, come up the front here. Enjoy your lunch and hope you enjoy the line breakers tonight. Thank you.